Alright, continuing on, the next essential part is going to be seats. You want to be able to get into the vehicle you want to drive. Now, there are basically two broad categories of seats in UNU. Those are these, which are basically miscellaneous random seats, bus seats, Invisa seats, airline passenger, pilot seats, motorcycle seat, turret seat, and van seat. These are generally used in specific vehicles and more niche applications. And as such, these will typically be included with the vehicle as a default part. And if you're curious as to what vehicles take them, when I go through every single vehicle, these seats will be mentioned if applied. So, in general, these seats are not used very often. They're used for specific things. I guess the only exception to this might be the motorcycle seat, as it's commonly used on motorcycles. But even that might be phased out with some internal MTS changes. So for the most part, you don't really have to worry about these ones. They're used in specific cases, and we'll cover those when we cover vehicles. The more common UNU seats are these few right here. So they are the budget seat, the standard seat, and the truck seat. Now, the truck seat and the budget seat currently only come in two options, or only come in one color, and so they'll typically be included with the vehicle when you craft it. So, for example, the UNU Mariner, when you create it and place it down initially in the world, it will come with all the seats pre-installed, just like, for example, the UNU Camel. It takes a truck seat. Because there's only one type of truck seat in UNU, it'll come pre-installed with it. So you don't have to worry about making seats usually when you create those vehicles. Sometimes there might be some exceptions. So for those, if you're ever curious about a specific vehicle, just make sure to check out the videos where I go over every single vehicle. Now, the ones where it gets slightly complicated, again, not that complicated, these are seats, are going to be the standard car seats. They come in 5 different colors to match the 5 different interior colors that are offered in UNU vehicles. That's going to be saddle, manila, ivory, Ford, and apple. Or, if you just want to be more straightforward, red, black, white, beige, and brown. So as you can see, when I hold these seats, these can be put in any of these vehicles, and to be perfectly honest, you can put these seats in any vehicle. All of these standard issue seats can be placed in any vehicle. So you could put budget seats and standard seats and budget seats. Just kind of keep in mind that if it, usually when it requires a specific seat, it is because it won't quite look right if you put in the wrong seat. For example, a lot of the vehicles that use a budget seat have a bench seat situation, and so they're designed to mesh well with the seat model of the specified seat. So as you can see, this interior here is red, so it's suggested to put the red seat in there so it matches. Example, yet again, you got the manila seat here and the saddle seat there. Now, of course, if you want, you can mix and match seats however you want. It's really up to your personal preference. Heck, you can even throw budget seats in there if you like. It's just, this becomes especially important, stumbling over my words here, for example, with the Baron. So if we take a Baron station wagon, we'll go ahead and take this lemon one here, and we'll place it down. Let's just give it some wheels. We'll give it whatever wheel pops up, whatever wheel I grab first. One that'll actually fit. Now let's go with this guy here. No, that's a standard Bud wheel. Look at that, I'm messing up my own stuff. Alright, so we'll go ahead and throw these wheels on here just so it is out of the ground. So as you can see, the interior of this car is manila. And you can see it has these little seat sections which are going to be in between the seats that you place. So it is recommended that you put down manila colored seats. That way the bench seat all matches. So for example, if you were to put in some black seats, well, that doesn't quite look as good as if you just used the manila seats. and especially looks worse if you use a different style of seat. But at the end of the day, you can use whatever you want. These are only recommendations. So that is pretty much everything in regards to seats. It's not, rocket science. There's seats. The only thing is for anyone who makes content for MTS and uses UNU parts. Some of these seats have custom types. In fact, most of these do. They all do. These all have custom types. So if you're, familiar with the internal workings of MTS, you can instead divide these categories into custom type seats, or now that custom types are kind of being phased out in the convention, seat underscore whatever the type is. These are not just standard seats, and so they can't just go in standard seat slots. But that's something more for people familiar with the internal workings of MTS. So with that, I hope you found it useful. And we'll go ahead and move on to the next one, which is going to be engines.